talk about the black and white and the way you've used it and not color? Um, you know, we had such a wonderful dialogue the other day about this, and I really thought it was you left me with so many quotes. I was like raving about you like after it. I was so energized and jazzed by our conversation. So I'm really curious, can you just why not color? Why black and white?
Well, I started out with black and white because somehow, I don't know whether it was because that's the first thing I learned, tri-X. I don't know. I sort of never really saw in color. I would see in light and dark and shapes and personalities and faces. And the thing about color is that it tends to be about color.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes away sometimes from the actual content or the subject matter. And for me, it's just one step removed by being black and white. So it's not trying to reproduce any kind of reality.
Yeah.
And I simply loved the tones that were available from, the silver tones from black to white.
Yeah.
I always
I
had a
mean,
lot of trouble. And I mean, it meant a lot to me to have prints come out well when they were published.
mhm.
And sometimes it was a nightmare because they did it on matte paper and there was no real dark, there was no real black, there was no real white.
Mhm.
And I had to really fight for those tones to come out properly.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I would also say too that black and white never went away. Even with the whole like shift to color, people still really do like black and white
I
images.
did a little. I had to do color when I was working, commercially, but it was always a struggle. I hated it. And
Mm.
my agent, that nice woman, said to me once, when you do color, it still looks like black and white. I'd go
Right,
out
I
on a
remember you
foggy
saying,
day, and there would be a little kid in a yellow poncho or something.
right,
That's it.
right. No, I mean, I do remember you saying like when we talked about this that for you that really you like to convey the light and the shade,
Exactly.
using black and white. And I think that you're right that you do get some of those little
It just
nuances.
takes it just takes a distracting element out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it allows you to maybe even go into the picture a bit more deeply than you would if it was color, right? Because we see color as human beings, right? We see it every day. It's so easy
But
to overlook
if
regular
I see
things.
something that is pulling me to photograph it, I already see it as a black and white photograph in my head.
Mm,
I
wow.
don't see the color part really. It just sort of goes away. I see the light on somebody's face, or the form of something, shadows, and I don't see the actual. I'm not aware of seeing the actual color at the moment.
Okay. Well, so this is another photograph. This is not in Framing Moments, but is a part of the KIA's collection. And I just wondered if you could give us some insight about Cousins Spain from
It's not.
1973. They're
It's,
so
there's
precious in
no
there.
insight really. There's just a backstory. I would see these two little girls, always dressed very, very properly in matching clothes, I incredibly clean and everything, playing in the square. It wasn't dirt. I mean, it was a paved square in a Spanish town in the south of Spain. And one day I went up to the woman who was always with them, and I said, "Are these your children?" She said, "No, they're cousins, and I take care of them." And
Oh,
they're at their grandmother's, and she dresses them always, like this. So this was, I mean, I saw them many times, and they were always dressed in matching clothes and always in delicate little dresses and always in little hats. And I said, "Do you think the grandmother would let me come and photograph them at home?" And she said, "I will ask." And since they were there every day, the next day I said, "Did she say yes?" And the woman said, "Yes." She said, come up to the house." So that's what I did. And this was in one of the bedrooms. And these two little girls were so serious.
hmm.
The little one in the back was the younger one, was
Oh,
just ready to dance, actually. And I had a little trouble keeping her still enough so she wouldn't disappear from the frame.
right, right, right.
But they were adorable. And they sort of put themselves there.
Hmm.
No, I didn't. I said, where do you want to go? And they said, we'll go in the bedroom. I said, all right. And the older one just sat down in this very serious, formal kind of way. And the other one put her arm around her neck and started to sort of dance around. It was just adorable. I
It
love
is. I mean, it's a precious moment, like for sure. Like, and their expressions are, the oldest one, you're right, she's very
taking it all
serious.
very seriously, you know.
The
Reminds me
younger
of the Goya pictures of the royal family, you know,
Yes.
little tiny
Yes.
children posing seriously,
Very serious,
tiny
very
one.
serious. Maybe someone had already imparted on her that, to get your picture taken or to have someone
I have
interested in
no
you.
idea what the background was. I never
Yeah,
spoke to the grandmother. I only saw the woman that they were with.
yes.
You know,
But the little girl behind her is very inquisitive. She
her name
looks,
was Lucia. I remember Lucia, Elena in the front and Lucia in the back.
oh, Elena and Lucia. That's really, really beautiful. And I can't believe cousins dressed alike. That's kind of funny and hysterical at the same time.
But to dress them as twins, you know, I mean, it was just
Yes,
grandmother thing.
yes,
Here,
yes.
let me have at these girls, you know.
Wow.
While
But
they're
yes, I think,
under my roof, I will treat them the way I want to.
yes, absolutely. And so then that leads us on to uh this other image that we have called Hands on Tombstone, Vermont.
This one is a very strange one. I took it in 1976, and there was something about those hands that just touched me terribly. I mean, it's a photograph of just, you know, something that was there, so there's no great insight about it. It was simply that those hands touched me terribly.
Hmm.
And I think I told you that my middle child, my eldest son, was killed in an accident when he was 24, just after his 24th birthday.
Oh.
It was 3 weeks after my father died, so it was quite a month.
Mm.
And when it came time to make his gravestone, we put those hands in a sort of more masculine version on his gravestone, and it's there.
Mm. Mm.
And I sent this picture to the person who made the stone
Yeah.
to use as you know, to copy, but he simply made the hands more masculine because he was a boy, you know.
Right. Right. There's something about this. I don't know that I would have placed any gender on these hands until you just now maybe sort of
Well,
said that,
they're
right?
sort of soft and long fingers, you know.
Yeah.
They do look a little feminine to me.
Yeah. I mean, but I also look at them and I think of like wings and I think about, when you have, holding someone's hand, what that kind of implies, just the
Well,
closeness,
of course,
you
I
know.
have I have versions of these hands in other states. I
Mm.
have a little sculpted set of little hands
Hmm.
that actually are lying in front of the picture of my son.
Hmm.
It's sort of a little area.
So, I mean, earlier you alluded to this about, when you first started out that, people weren't necessarily hiring a woman. And I wonder if you could talk about if there were any other kind of challenges that you may have faced being a photographer, a woman photographer, in
Well,
a
not
sort of,
really. I mean, I learned to carry the stuff around. I was finally carrying 4 or 5 cameras at the same time, as well
oh,
as I made myself a vest with enormous pockets all around, and then I would wear a poncho over it, so people wouldn't see the cameras or anything else. And I
wow.
had all the lenses in this vest in these big pockets, and then I could, you know, just have the camera in my hands. And I did a book in Poland on the city where my father was born, not because of his being born there. It was just a town that I got to know. And I did a whole book on that. And that's the way I was going around, because it was in 1984 and it was still communist, you know, directed Poland, very unhappy time. So it was a good thing not to be always walking around with obvious cameras, because you'd get in trouble, you know, which I did.